Hey, it's your boy Chrys, Players Pick Podcast, here to shout out my sponsor, Road Roaster Coffee. Road Roaster Coffee makes an amazing array of light, medium, and dark roasts. My favorite is this kick-ass right here. You can check out roadroastercoffee.com and use Players Pick as your coupon code for 20% off your very first order. Enjoy the pod.
Players Pick Podcast. Picks and perspective with Chris Johnson. Palpable. Paradox. Polarity.
Mic check.
Yo.
Yo, Javier, how are you, man?
Good, man. How you doing?
Good. You look good.
Fucking just trying, bro.
Bro, you suave as fuck.
Eating the broccoli and fucking, drinking water.
That's it? Just drinking water and eating broccoli? That's your secret?
Among a few other things, but I don't know if I might get canceled if I say it.
Ooh, that's the good stuff. Let's get into that.
No.
That's all right. I don't want to get you canceled, man. I want to keep you around.
Yeah, all right.
Well, thanks for hopping on and doing the pod with me again, man. It's been like 3 years. You were like in the first 10 of the first pods.
Damn, that's crazy.
And this is like 113 or something like that.
Oh shit. That's a lot. You've done a lot then.
Yeah, not even on purpose, dude. Honestly, I just kept doing it.
And just haven't.
Yeah. So I'm just like, oh shit, we're almost done. Oh, I guess I'm doing hundreds of these things. I don't know. We'll see what happens.
That's cool.
But yeah, man. Congratulations on the album. Is it Parisia? Is that what it is?
Parisia, yeah.
That's dope, man. Of course. Like you had a big hand again in the sound and the production of this album, right?
Yeah. I mixed it with a buddy of mine, Nick Morzov. He did quite a bit as well. But yeah, it was pretty much a back and forth with mixing. The mixes that he does by himself come out pretty different than what we did together, and vice versa. So it was a great team up.
Do you take like one aspect and he takes another aspect, or does it you guys always kind of meeting in the middle somewhere?
Yeah, we would meet in the middle. He would do things and I'd be like, no, I think this is too much. It's sounding too sampled, and we need to go back. And a lot of the automation stuff I had to do a lot to do. I had more hands-on stuff just to be able to get things balanced properly. There's a lot of stuff where like I knew what Matt and Toadstool would want. I knew what I would want. In the middle of mixing process, I was like, okay, we're gonna switch up the synth sound or reamp everything and stuff like that. So that was kind of more of the approach. And then just normal mixing stuff like EQing and compression type stuff. But it was pretty mutual. Him and I work really well together. We do some other stuff too, and it's like it's pretty easy. No one's trying to like outdo anybody or like get in the way of anybody. It's very complimentary.
That's always nice, man. A competitive thing is not conducive to a good work environment usually.
Usually, yeah.
Yeah, it depends. If it's a spirit between the two of you to outdo each other to have you guys rise to your best, that's different.
Right.
But yeah, and you just took the album out on your first tour not too long ago.
Yeah, at the end of May, was it May? Yeah. At the end of April we started, and it was all of May we did the tour, and it was cool. It was our first tour back out since COVID. It was awesome. It was actually a very successful tour for us. It was nice to be back out after being stuck indoors for however long we had to be stuck indoors for.
Bro, I know. That was crazy. Like years of our life basically kind of missing in a weird way. Like,
absolutely.
We got to do stuff, but depends on where you were at. Like, depends on what the rules were where you were.
Yeah, totally. Yeah.
How was how was it? Was the experience of being on the road again? Was there? I assume that everybody's vaxxed and everybody had to like deal with the things that as you're going around to different venues. Was there like no cancellations because of COVID or anything this time around? Or
No, we thankfully we didn't have any cancellations. I mean, we waited long enough that it was fairly easy. I mean, I think even like I want to say like a few days or a week before we went back out, like Live Nation lifted that whole like need to show proof of vaccination to even get inside the venue.
oh,
And they were they were giving the options to the bands to be able to keep that rule or not. But at 2.5 years after, we were just like, yo, whoever wants to come in, just come in.
let's go. Yeah.
If you're come at your own risk, we're here at our own risk. I mean, we were all vaxxed, but what are you gonna do after 2.5 years?
I know. Well, that's the thing. It's interesting too. Is just in the process of seeing all my homies and all the bands go out. There's like some tours seem to hit it just no problem. Like they're like, hey, a little bit of incidents here or there, they might have to cancel a date or send somebody home or something like that. But that was like mostly last year. This year seems like mostly everybody's got to roll with it.
Yeah. I mean, so we were supposed to do that tour with Dance Gavin Dance at the beginning of the pandemic, which got canceled.
That's right.
So when we were going to go back out, we ended up, and this was 2021, fall of 2021. We were supposed to go back out, and it was like the rise of Delta variant, and we were like, dude, really? Like, so we ended up losing a lot of money on that first run. We were at the venue. It was the first day of tour, crew and everything, bus, all sorts, 30 boxes of merch. And Live Nation cancels all tours across the US.
Yeah.
So we just had to bite the bullet. So we were like, to avoid that and then be stuck in the middle of the country somewhere, we were like, let's chill, maybe right now isn't the best of time. And I think on that tour, a couple guys got COVID, and they ended up. I don't think they canceled shows, but I think they did stuff where like somebody else was singing, or this, a different guitar player or something.
Right.
So, and we don't actually have the luxury of being like, all right, who can fill in?
No, bro. I was just say, like, dude, other bands can do that shit, but like not you guys.
Yeah, it's gonna be pretty hard.
I don't believe. I mean, I know that somebody could come in and play some of Matt's or your parts and some of like I know that there's people out there, but to me, when I think of you guys, I can't possibly think it would have to be somebody super. It'd be Frederick Thorntongo, but he doesn't got the time. Like somebody that's like a total boss would have to fill in, and that would be anomaly.
Yeah, so we just were like, we can't. We don't want to take the risk. So we opted out, and at the same time we were, we had the new album was about to drop, and we were like, well, okay, do we want to go do support and be pushing this new album, or do we want to do it on a headliner after so long of going out, of not going out? So we opted out to just chill at home until it was time for us to go, which I was happy that we did.
Good.
Yeah.
So everybody's staying healthy then. It's all good.
Yeah, everybody's staying real healthy. Matt got real healthy. He's all swole now.
I saw a couple of pics, dude. He's in on it big time.
He's all, Joe Rogan'd out.
That's great, man. I mean, do you guys work out together, or do you guys kind of do your own thing, or is that only on tour?
Separate. Maybe on tour. But even this last tour, like, I think I worked out twice on tour this last time around. It's like I talked about it, but I definitely didn't. At home we all work out, but Matt moved to Nashville, so he's out there now. And Tosin and I live, I'm in the Valley, Tosin's downtown, so there's no point in us trying to like link up to work out.
No, that doesn't make sense. But you guys do you guys adhere to similar methods, or do you guys all have your own methods in that area too?
Um, Tosin and I were more in the CrossFit world. Matt was straight bodybuilding sort of stuff. But I don't know. I've been working out forever. So has Tosin. So I go through phases. Like sometimes I don't want to do the box jumps and the kettlebell swings. And I hate burpees still. So
yeah, dude, I hate them too.
They suck.
Yeah, but you feel better when you're done with all it. That's the good news. Like,
yeah. I mean, at this point, I kind of have to. I mean, if I don't work out, I don't sleep well, and then all sorts of bad decision making starts to happen, and dumb stuff. So
do you feel it like like your age and like everything? You feel that when a couple days out you don't work out? Do you have pain at this point, or is it just kind of like a mental thing more than like a physical thing?
I would say both. I don't feel that much pain when I don't work out. If anything, I probably feel more pain when I do work out. But yeah, on the mental health side, it's like it just kind of keeps me a little bit more, on just in check. I kind of need to. I don't know what it is, but like if I don't work out, I can't. I just don't. I stay up till like 4 or 5 in the morning for doing nothing, just all of a sudden watching TV or something. So now I just kind of really force myself to try to work out and act like a normal human being.
So that doing that, getting yourself exhausted is what helps you sleep, and you stay on a regular schedule, probably. Huh? Are you still holding down the sobriety thing? Are you a little out of that, or where you're at with that?
No, I'm not. Not sober, I would say. But I don't really smoke pot, which was very not me because I was really good at it.
Yeah, I remember.
Yeah. No, dude, I took, it was like almost like 2 years that I took off of it. And I mean, I have smoked since then. That shit fucks me up now, dude. I can't, and the times that I did, it'd be like one little hit, toasted, straight on some grandfather shit. So I don't even bother with weed anymore, really. I'll drink from time to time, and that's about it,
That's cool. So it sounds like you were able to take time away and develop a better relationship to that aspect of your life, huh?
Yeah. I definitely appreciated the time that, I think at the time it was absolutely necessary. A little out of hand with, some of my favorite things to do in life.
Hey man, we don't know where the center is unless we go a little off into the extreme a little bit here and there, right? And then we can find our way back. So
yeah,
I think that's good. I think it's good for everybody. And on some, I don't wish anybody to go off the deep end, but at the same time, like, it's like I don't wish anybody's house to burn down either, but like, there's a bunch of lessons learned when you lose everything,
Right.
So I was really proud of how you handled it, man. And like, just like watching you, do your thing and move into a really good space from a space that wasn't that great. So
yeah, totally. Yeah. But it was a good experience. I met a lot of cool people through that shit, that I probably wouldn't have, but I'm back on my bullshit, dude.
Hey man, well, so that's the other aspect, man. Like so a lot of the great wise people that I've studied through the years, though, some of my favorite ones tend to remind you that like you can't iron everything out. It can't be completely flat. You can't have everything up and nothing down, right? Like you have to have a little, every even great person needs a little bit of a something that hooks them into this lifetime, a little bit of rascalinity, they call it, like a sense of being a rascal. And so like sometimes our little bit of alcohol, a little bit of pot, whatever, helps us play or helps us
whatever it is,
side, right?
I mean, in regards to like substances, I mean, it's easy to get carried away with it, right? But I've had some very endearing moments with it. I've made some amazing friendships through it. So that was kind of the weird thing too, where it was just like, well, I can't look at it exclusively as a bad thing, because I've actually, some of my best friends I've, you know, made through fucking ripping lines or some dumb shit, you know.
Yep.
But yeah, it can easily get carried away.
Well, sounds like you're in a decent space of moderation currently. Great.
Well, for now.
For now. Hey, no promises, all right? That's cool, man. Well, so I'm curious about I know you've had plenty of time. You guys had plenty of time to do this album, right? But like there was rumors of a different kind of album before releasing this album. So is there still another, you know, type of album still sitting on the shelf, or did that not happen? Or
and there's nothing was actually written. So yes, we never want to repeat ourselves. And you know, it was our fifth album, like, yeah, right. And we were like, why don't we experiment and do some other shit? We were talking about maybe like, you know, getting some guest vocalists or even guest instrumentalists to hop on board. And then COVID happened, you know, and it was just like, well, this is going to be really hard to do. Because we don't know the process, what it would be like, you know, to work with somebody, to be able to write what we write and then to be able to have vocals on it. We didn't know that process. We also didn't want to go for just like people in the metal scene. We wanted to branch out and really do things that you wouldn't expect us to do, sort of thing. So there was just no level of, or no way of really knowing what the process would be. COVID happened. We were like, okay, I guess let's just put that idea to the side for now. And even with writing this album, I don't think we got together all of 2020.
Wow.
Yeah, I mean, it was pretty here down in LA. It was like pretty extreme. And then the one time, maybe a handful of times that we would try to get it, was like, oh, well, somebody got COVID, or somebody's girlfriend got COVID, or something like that. And it was just like, you know, I guess we're not doing it. So it just kept getting pushed. Yeah, because originally we wanted to release something by 2020. That was the original goal. But yeah, I mean, you know, along with everybody else in the world, COVID, just like, where it's like, yep, whatever you had planned, it ain't happening.
Yeah, and if it is, it ain't happening the way you wanted it to.
Correct.
Know, it's like happening this alternate way.
So, so there's still plans to. I'd like to be able to do some, you know, stuff that's well outside of what we've done before. I don't know if it'll be a full album. I don't know if it'll be singles or EPs or etc. You know, we've only toured one time on this album, so there's still a lot of work to be done with it.
Sure.
We'll see.
You got a couple more videos coming?
We just finished talking about a song for Red Miso.
Sick. That's one of my favorite tracks. Easily.
It's funny, that song almost didn't make the album.
What?
Yeah.
Tell me about that, because that track, it's like when the album came out, I was like sending that one out to a bunch of my friends. I'm like, shut the fuck up, listen to this. Listen.
Yeah, that one didn't. We were. It almost Tosin wasn't like super stoked about it, and he was just like, no, I don't know, and it was. We were like, yo, well, we need more music to put on the album, and Matt and I were like, dude, the song's great, let's just put it on there. Matt kind of changed some stuff with the arrangement, and we put it on the album. And we were like, I was most hyped about Gordia Knot. Tosin was most hyped about like Is Us to Fall. We all had we all were thinking another song was gonna be the one.
The track. Yeah.
And literally, I remember the first day the album, the whole thing dropped. Everybody's like, Red Miso, Red Miso, Red Miso. And we're all like, really? Like, that's okay, cool. I mean, it's cool. Now I'm just like, all right, cool.
Yeah.
Great.
Man, I love hearing that. I love it when it's a surprise like that. I mean, especially for you guys, because it's like, I know that as a creator, like sometimes you put stuff together and you're just like, it's almost better when you're not attached to it, when you don't know if it's going to be good or not. And then like the whole world goes, bro, that thing that you were not going to even show us, that's our favorite. Like, what?
It was the same thing with Problems of Other Minds. That was actually the first one we did a while ago. We wrote that a while ago, and it was like, we weren't it's a really short song. It's like 2 minutes. We were like, do we add more? Blah, blah, I don't know, whatever, let's just put it in there, who the fuck cares? And maybe it's an extended interlude or like a sort of thing, and ended up just actually being its own thing. And then literally like sort of last minute in the mixing process of it is when we made that whole long intro, which turned into its own track, Acai.
Okay.
And it was just like, why don't we just do this extra thing? But yeah, those songs were almost not on the album. It's kind of weird.
What a trip. Well, I have to echo your love for Gordia Knot. That's like I like all the tracks, but Red Miso and Gordia Knot are like the two that really stand out to me that I'm like, I want to go back to,
Yeah.
So
to me, Gordia Knot like had a similar like effect on me as when I first heard KFO. And I was just like, damn, this is the jam. I don't know if most people view Gordia Knot the same way though either. It's hard to tell. Like, I feel like so many of the songs, at least when I haven't looked at comments lately, but when the album came out, and looking up comments on YouTube or Instagram, and it's like everybody had like an individual song, and then the majority was just like Red Miso, Red Miso, Red Miso. I was just like, I guess none of the songs matter except for Red Miso. I mean, which to me, this is probably my favorite album. I think from beginning to end, all the songs are awesome. Like they're really cool in my opinion. Where previous albums, it's like a handful of songs are awesome, and then the rest of them are like, they're awesome, but they don't carry the same weight. And I feel like this one, all the songs are pretty much heavy hitters.
What's an example of a song from a previous album that you're like, it's just all right?
Glass Bridge from a lot of Weightless,
Really?
Yeah.
Just don't feel it the way that you feel these.
Yeah. I think, I don't know. Yeah. Like stuff from Weightless, I think partly is due to how it translates when we play it live. A lot of the material from Weightless was very difficult to make it sound, or for it to translate it into a live performance in the way how it behaved on the album.
I see.
It didn't. We would play certain songs from Weightless live, and it'd be like the crowd just stopped moving, and they're just like, "Yeah, all right, cool." It's like we're playing it well, but it's not carrying that same type of energy. Same thing with I mean, there's a few songs in Joy Emotion. I personally like playing Lip and Cod, and to me it's one of the cool songs, but live it just doesn't move people the same way. A song even from the first album, which is kind of like a fan favorite, On Impulse. Playing it live now, like we almost refuse to play it live just because it's like an energy killer. Like it just
Wow.
wipes out any fucking momentum that's happening live. And with this album, we ended up playing 6 new songs from the album on this last tour, and every song was like, yo, these songs like hit really hard live.
Mm.
And it's kind of nice, you know, to be able to do that, where like every song hits really hard live.
Yeah, well, it's cool that you're kind of gauging it by the audience reaction in that way. I mean, I'm sure that on some level, the kind of the prog nature of how you guys end up expanding and on certain ideas in some of these other songs probably is, there some of your songs obviously like have this kind of more expansive prog thing, and it's not all heavy hitting. It's kind of like it's almost like down tempo in some ways, right?
Yeah.
But like you guys, I was thinking as you were talking, I'm like, bro, maybe you need to do an alternate tour at some point, a B-sides tour where you only play like art halls and everybody's seated. And you play all the sleepers, all the ones that make you go,
You know
sit
what?
down.
Ironically, one of the last shows that we played here on this last tour was an all-seated show.
Oh,
We played here at the Ace, which is like epic, gorgeous theater. I walked in, I was like, this is gonna be weird because it's like, looks massive dome type ceiling where it looks like Michelangelo painted on it. Velvet seats, and I was like, this is gonna be weird. The crowd went nuts. It was so I didn't even notice, like while we're playing, I didn't even notice that it was like a seated venue at that point. So I don't know. But while we're writing, we're not keeping in mind, oh, this is not going to go well live, or the crowd's going to be bored off of this. We just write just to write, right? But what we choose to play live, we've experimented. We'll try certain songs, and it's just like it just doesn't do the thing live. There was that song from Madness, Transcentience, it's like doing, has all the 64th notes and all the triplets on the album, and we were playing it live, and it's like no one's really vibing off of it. And we were like, okay, we're not ever gonna do that again. Sorry, guys. Sorry to piss y'all off. Fuck.
No, but so I guess what I'm actually even praising you for is because I ask this question sometimes to people, right? And I'm like, yo, what's your worst shit? What's the stuff you don't like as much, or like, and most people deflect the to try to answer it. Don't, all of our stuff is pretty good, I like all of it. I'm like, okay, all right, but like objectively, there's got to be something that about some of your material that, and this is one of the lenses through it's you're explaining to me that, oh well, this is the lens to how we kind of gauge that, right? It's like if it doesn't hit, then we pull it, and we keep trying to put the bangers in the live set. So that,
yeah, I mean, for us, we kind of have to take that approach, right? We don't have a front man. I mean, Tosin would, I guess he's the leader of the band, but we're both playing so much shit, and that for at least 85% of the show, we're like not even headbanging. We're making sure we hit the right pedal and we hit the right notes. Matt's going crazy, but he's not moving. He's not running around. So if we don't notice the crowd kind of being hyped, for us, it turns into a mental game. You're just like, oh fuck, I'm pretending to want to be here. And so we try to keep it where it's captivating, or if for us it feels like we're captivating the crowd throughout the entire set, even if it's a song like even if it's a slow song, because we do brain dance quite often, but the reaction to that is just as good as it is for arithmophobia or something, where it's completely different dynamics, but you can tell that the crowd is like stoked about it.
That's awesome. Yeah, brain dance is a great tune. I can I've seen you guys play that one live a few times, and yeah, it's interesting how, I guess, some of the songs that aren't as crushing can still be super entertaining, and they end up making a set anyway, right?
Totally. Yeah, exactly.
And so what's the status of Mestis these days?
I have a bunch of new material for it.
Cool.
It might be another heavy album. I don't know. For whatever reason, I kept trying to write some of the more softer Mestis type stuff, and I had a few things, but I have a lot of ideas that were all like very heavy. So the next Mestis might be really heavy.
Sick.
Comparatively,
yeah.
Comparatively. But yeah, there's some stuff in there that I'm just like, I almost did. I was just like, well, it's too heavy for Mestis because of where I was taking it. And then I would just show some friends, and they were like, just put it out. It still it sounds like Mestis, but it's just not like the hip hoppy sort of thing.
You still have a lineup for that, or is it just kind of you and you're going to switch up like the live? Because I know for a while you were messing with the Intronaut boys and different setups for Mestis.
I think, I mean, all the writing I just do myself, the only thing that I might do is for the recording is just get a drummer. And even then, I mean, some of the drum programming that I've been doing at this point, I've gotten it to the point where it's just like, do I need to go hire somebody? Is it going to make it that much more better if I go hire somebody for what it's there,
Yeah.
And I don't know yet. I mean, it could be cool. I mean, maybe there's a little bit more avenues of being able to like promote it, but at the same time, Mestis has always just been kind of like a bedroom project. Taking it out on tour was a very homey move. I have no plans in getting in a van and touring Mestis. It was nice to be able to like hop on board with plenty in Europe and here. They were like, look, you can either get a van and drive yourself everywhere, or sleep in our bunk and then just hire these dudes. And I was like,
right. So you had like Simon Grove on bass or something, or what?
Yeah, and Simon's phenomenal. Chrys was amazing, so
cool.
And I've toured with both of those guys before, multiple times at that point. And it was easy. There was no like, is this gonna work? Those guys know what the fuck they're doing. I know what I'm doing. So it was pretty easy.
I can imagine that being a relief to let your bedroom project be a homey, chill thing that you don't stress out over, like if you can help it, because you already have to do that in a different way with animals, right?
Yeah, totally. I would tour it. I don't know who I would, hitting up Joe from Internato is an option. Hitting up Rob, who played on the last album, is an option. Hitting up Matt is an option. I don't need to think about that now. It's more so like, am I going to put new music out? If I do,
right.
And then if I get a tour opportunity, sure.
Yeah.
But until then, does it really matter?
Yeah, that makes sense. I saw you guys did some stuff with Rick Beato not too long ago.
Yeah, when we were on tour, we ended up going over to his studio.
He's in Atlanta, yeah?
Yeah. Well, I guess he's like outside of Atlanta, but
okay.
Yeah, Atlanta,
That's just awesome. It was awesome to see. Like I watch his channel as most of the musician, population does to some degree one time or another, and just seeing you guys pop up on there was a pleasure for me, because it's a big channel, man. It's like he's kind of like the Rogan of music in a lot of ways.
Yeah, and he's kind of become that way. And extremely knowledgeable. It's like unknowingly good at his fucking theory and all that shit.
And yeah, that's a good way to put it. Annoyingly. Like,
yeah, it's like, damn fool.
He's like this. And I'm like,
I know it's like that.
For you, bitch. For you. I'm still trying to figure out what the fuck you did, because that was 3 chords, and like, you know, every note and every chord every time. Yeah. But
his kids got like perfect pitch, so I think it's something in their genes.
That's annoying too.
Yeah, his kid can pick out like gnarly ass chords and tell you which ones they are.
I've seen a couple of those vids where he's not looking at Rick at all. He's just at the piano and throwing down, and he knows what note is in the bass, you know, in the inversions. And I'm like,
it's like, fuck you, dude.
Yeah, bro. Like, I hope you do something with that that's not annoying, because it's so sick, and you're so gifted. Yeah, I hope that brings you. I don't know. I wonder about that type of stuff, but like, well, since like things have been more open and up and stuff, like, is life kind of normal in LA for you? Like, you kind of feeling
for the most part. I mean, it's, you know, technically over here it's like COVID's over until somebody has COVID and they can't go out for like 4 or 5 days, and then they're like, oh shit, okay, you can't come to dinner.
which is super weird, man. I mean, all of it's been confusing, as you know. I mean, there's been all kinds of confusing ordinances and stuff like this, right, throughout the whole thing. But like recently, I saw that the CDC was like, hey, now vaccinated and unvaccinated don't matter, it's all the same. And if you've as long as you don't have symptoms, basically, whatever, like if you've been exposed, like, it's like, I'm like, man, this story is a bad story.
I mean, you know, in the beginning I was like, they're telling me to wear a mask, I'm gonna wear a mask.
Yeah,
get vaccinated. I, you know, like, I personally, I don't care about doing that much more research and getting deep with it, that I'm just gonna be like, look, I'm gonna go ahead and just choose to trust whatever the fuck they tell me. If it turns out to be wrong, whoops, you know. If it turns out to be correct, great. But then so much shit has happened, so many things. It's like, okay, well, stay at home if you're, you know, just a regular ass person. But if you're like a health professional and you get COVID, you got 3 days or some shit. And it's so shit just didn't start making sense. And at that point, I'm like, look, I'm gonna just go ahead and use my common sense. If you're coughing a lot and, you know, if you're asking me to make out with you, no, I'm not gonna do it.
You heard that here first, ladies. Yeah. Don't come around Hobbs like coughing up a storm and trying to get the makeout session. It's not gonna happen.
I just, at this point, it's just like, I don't know, use your common sense. You know, some people, I'll go to the gym and some people are still working out in masks, and I'm like,
same.
I can't do it, but I don't blame you. You know, yeah, the whole mask thing didn't bother me. I was like, yeah, whatever, dude. Like, cool.
I was fine with it until it was in the gym. Like, the gym it didn't work out for me. You know, but I did use it to teach. I was teaching yoga through COVID for most of the part, for any of the spots that I was teaching that were open. And I was fine to teach her that way, but like to do a full workout in one of those masks is.
I would agree. The gym that I would go to, they were pretty much for a big chunk of the lockdown, they were on some Fight Club shit where it was just like fucking, you know, covered up all the windows, and there was one of those like those doorbells with a camera, and they were like, oh, fucking us.
What's the password?
Yeah, exactly. Yeah. And, you know, it's a CrossFit gym, and it's like, there were some people doing it with a mask, but I'm like, I could barely breathe just without a mask doing a CrossFit workout.
Right.
And to have something on. And the general consensus there was kind of like, well, if somebody gets it, you just know that it's somebody from here. You're not going anywhere else because nowhere else is open. So people were going from, like, you know, the grocery store, Target, to the gym, and then home. And it was like, all right, we'll just let them know, or don't come for a few days. And everybody was chill. And actually throughout that entire time, for at least a year, it was like that. I think maybe like 1 or 2 people that I know of got it. which was no different than like being in the general population.
Right.
So I was just like, I don't fucking know what's going on. I wear a mask when I get in an Uber because they tell me to, and it's easier to do that than to end up in some like Karen or Kevin video somewhere online.
No shit. Did you actually ever get it?
Yeah.
Was it bad or was it moderate? What was
You know
it?
what? Honestly, I think I got it like before the lockdown. We were actually
So pre
yeah,
vaccination
like
and everything.
yeah, when I think it was still like, oh, some shit's happening in China, you know, like,
Oh,
or some shit's happening in Portland, sort of thing. Because I remember actually from my gym, it was like a bunch of us got sick, and everybody just thought it was the flu.
sure.
And I remember being sick here and having like what felt like the flu, but it was like pretty intense chest, like a very scratchy and very like almost metallic type of thing. And I was like, we were supposed to record that week, and I remember hitting up Matt and Tosin. I was just like, yo, I'm sick. Y'all should just stay home. I don't know what yeah, and but nobody was like, oh, COVID. So I don't know. But then after that, I didn't get it for a while. Um, it was I think uh, at the beginning of this year. It was where I finally
Okay.
got it. It was in January. I was supposed to, or was it?
It's like probably Omicron
Some shit.
variant or some
I
shit.
mean, there's a villain. I don't know.
Yeah.
But yeah, I was supposed to go to DC to go see my family post. I was supposed to go to for Christmas to DC to see my family, and like 2/3 of them got it. So I was just like, well, I'm not gonna go over there if everybody else has it. So we waited. I postponed my shit till like the end of January, and then 2 days before my flight, I get it. And I was like, all right. And it was just a lot of that, you know. I think that's been a lot for a lot of people.
Yeah. Yeah, I was lucky. I didn't get anything through any. I mean, it wasn't till like early this year, or it was probably February or March. I got a runny nose and was like, oh wait, maybe am I finally getting the fucking boogeyman thing? You know, like we've been all scared running around, and so I laid low for 3 days. I only had symptoms for like 3 days. Right, and it was
Yeah, see,
really
it was mine was super short too. It might have been like 2 or 3 days, and that was it. And I was totally fine. And I actually like in early December or late November, I actually got sick. Um, went to get tested like 2 or 3 weeks apart, and I was negative every time. So I was like, oh, I got the normal flu. Like, all right, cool. And then I got sick again in January, and that's when I was like, I don't get sick like this that often. This has got to be it. Because I barely get the flu, maybe like once
Same.
every 2 years or something every 3 years. Um, and at that point, I was like, it's only been a couple months, and I woke up with a fever. I'm pretty sure I got the fucking the Rona. So got tested, and it came, back very, very positive, very fast.
Well, I'm glad that it didn't hassle you too bad, other than
Just like fucking move the flight, and
yeah.
that's it.
Yeah, it's good. I mean, I've had a few friends that and my brother and I, we have the same dad, different mom, and his mom passed away during
Oh yeah.
the heavy, but but it's not to dismiss it, but like she was in a had a bunch of comorbidities and like all this stuff. So she was in that category. And it was and we assumed that was probably the thing that like pushed her over the edge. So,
Yeah, I mean, it's
it's difficult to know.
it's difficult. I mean, I had some friends whose parents died, and it was like, I don't even know what to say, to that after a while.
Yeah. Yeah.
Thankfully, nothing happened. My parents are safe and sound.
Same.
They both got it at this point. I think multiple times at this point, and they're fine. So, knock on wood.
Yeah. Well, damn, dude, let's shift out of the freaking the gloomy
Gnarly.
zone. You got any new guitars to show off? Like you got some sick signature guitars. Maybe what are
Yeah,
the
actually.
latest?
So the newest boy that needs to come out is this Strat, this 8-string Strat.
Ooh.
So I had a custom version of it, but this is an LTD version. The custom originally had 3 single coils, but we made this with hum single. So this should be coming out. I don't want to say in the next few months, but fairly soon.
Soonish.
It's way sick.
It looks way sick.
It's way sick. Yeah.
Is that paint job? Is that like a gold to green like shift? Or something?
Just the lighting. It's gold.
Oh, it's gold.
I'm using like a webcam, so it's not capturing the color that great.
Oh, okay.
But yeah, white perloid. Classic, fucking Strat looking thing. It has my custom inlays that you see on my signature, and it's abalone. It's on my normal Strat I'm using perloid, but this is abalone. Gold Floyd bridge, fully functional. I have the the locking nuts. This is my custom Fishman setup. These are custom. This is a signature pickup that I have on my normal JR 608, and then these are custom single coil pickups from Fishman as well. And it's very Stratty,
Sick.
And
it's got multiple voices like the other Fishman stuff.
Yeah, exactly. So you still have voice 1, voice 2. I'm always a little confused on it, but I think there might even be like a third voicing sort of thing, because this mini toggle is usually for voice 1, voice 2, but it's a 3-way.
I see.
Like, as much as it's nice to have all these options, I almost just either keep it all the way in the neck position, or I always just toggle between that first and second position.
I see.
I still get everything that I really need off of that. But it sounds incredible, really. Like.
And how do you like the operation of an 8-string Floyd? I mean, do you still get like nuance with that? Because the extra tension on the strings makes me feel like there might be something awkward about that, but
no, it behaves just like a normal Floyd. Obviously, there's a little bit of extra tension, but it's great.
Okay,
it's great.
It's not like something that inhibits you from expressing with the bar or anything like that.
No, not at all. If anything, I can be more expressive with it. And as far as if I don't use it, it's not giving me any artifacts that I would have thought to have been there, which I think why people avoided putting the Floyds on there for so many years. The only drawback is that like I can't down tune out of whim, so it's like the one tuning is what I'm using, which is fine, at this point.
And what do you have it in now?
The Animal standard, which is 7-string standard, and then drop E.
Okay, cool. So that's still the vibe. All right.
That's awesome. I'll use the other guitar for the other signature for any time. We started doing stuff in F sharp as well. And then there's a couple other weird tunings where where the 6th string is in drop E, but drop D, and the 8th string is in E, so it'll be E, B, D, A.
Oh, interesting.
Yeah, it's kind of a weird one.
Yeah,
but it's not that weird when you can just like often live we don't even switch guitars, we'll just like tune it right then and there.
Okay. What songs are you use that tuning?
I know KFO and KFO Tosin does that. What other song was it? Maybe it was just F sharp after that. I think so. No, there is a. I can't remember off the top of my. I know in K4 for sure.
Okay.
Tosin, that's how he tunes it. I figured out how to play that song by ear, so I ended up just learning how to do it in this tuning.
Okay.
So I remember one day we were like, it's like he was like, "What are you playing?" I was just like, and I'm playing, and he's just like, "What tuning are you in?" And I'm like, "Oh, the
The
tuning
tuning.
that we
What are you talking
always
about?
play." And he was like, "Oh shit, no, I played in a different tuning." I was just like, "Okay, cool."
So now there's another way to play this song,
Yeah, we'll do that often where like I'll play something in a certain way and he plays it another way.
Mm,
Um,
that's
but
super cool though,
for the most
actually.
part, I think that's it. On the new Mestis, I have this one thing where I'm doing drop D tuning for the six, and then I'll do the low string on drop D as well,
Ooh.
so even lower. And then I keep the B where it is, and
Okay.
that one's pretty gnarly too.
That's pretty dope. Now, do you change the low string, the 8 string gauge at all? You keep, huh?
Keep it. I'm not very picky with that. Like, I have friends who are like, "Oh, dude, we're gonna be tuned down a whole half step, and we gotta reset up the guitar and get a whole guitar." I'm like, really? Just do this though. Um, yeah, I'm just like,
There it is. Yeah, I guess it's different for different people, and certain guitars, especially with the trim. I mean, I obviously that's a different story altogether, but
yeah, with something like this, you would have to set it up specifically for that tuning, um, which is to me one of the benefits of playing, a fixed bridge sort of thing where if I'm experimenting at home, the last thing I want to do is to start setting up a guitar just to be able to fucking experiment. Um,
right.
you know what I mean? And also like I grew up playing shitty guitars, like,
Mm.
um, and I had to learn how to make them sound good. So
Hmm.
I'm a strong believer in like 90% of the tone actually is coming from your hands and not the setup of the guitar. There's certain artifacts that like, okay, your sustain, et cetera, et cetera. Sure, the pickups and the string height has a lot to do with, but as far as like, can your fucking vibrato sound good?
Mm.
Um, I don't think that matters, which however you have it fucking set up.
Yeah, yeah, I hear what you're saying. Like in a lot of ways, actually, kind of shitty guitars or guitars that are less than perfect for what you might imagine to be the perfect setup can actually teach us a lot in a way of like for ourselves because we have to adjust our like if you take an Animal song and you pick up another 8 string guitar that somebody else has set up a little different, you got to adjust your approach to that particular instrument, right?
100%.
And so that teaches us something, right? Like, and instead of going, well, it's not set up to my liking, I can't do the exact same thing that I normally do on mine.
Yeah.
uh you know
Dude,
kind of
one
shifts.
time, in we played in Santiago, and Copa Airlines lost 16 out of our 22 bags,
Whoa.
guitars included. Um,
Shit.
right? So we show up, and we're at the we don't. This is a gnarly story. We didn't have any of the guitars, um, and for whatever reasons, this is it's kind of funny. For whatever reasons, the hotel that they put us at was surrounded. It was almost like a part of this like mall, but it was only music stores.
Whoa.
Yeah, it was kind of fucking wild. I was like, what the fuck? How cool, great. So I wake up from the night we arrive, I wake up the next morning, I'm like, all right, I gotta figure something out. And I walk out, and I just happen to walk into this fucking there's like a shopping center, and there were all music stores. And I walk in, and I'm like, I'm looking for 8 strings, 8 strings. I see sixes, 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 2 7 strings. And then the salesman is like, Javier Reyes. I'm like, fuck yes. Because I'm in Chile. I mean,
Yeah.
how the fuck? And then I'm like, how many people in this country have 8 string guitars? You know?
Right.
So I'm like, yo, Copa Airlines lost, our guitars. They're somewhere fucking Panama, I think. and we need 8-string guitars. I'm like, well, we don't sell any, but me and the other salesman happen to be huge fans of Animals, and you can borrow our guitars. And I think both they were like Schecter guitars or whatever. And I was like, all right, cool. We have a show. You know, I don't whatever's happening, we can do the show. The funny thing also, I walked into another store, and this is when Tosin was still with Ibanez, all right, and they had one of his fucking signature guitars in a big ass glass case, fucking
Whoa.
in the middle of the shop. It was like the shrine of the fucking store, and I was like, "Yo, this is Tosin Abbas's guitar, right?" They're like, "Yes." I was like, "Well, guess what? Tosin Abbas is at the hotel upstairs. He needs to borrow this guitar for the show tonight." And they're like, "Absolutely not." We were like, and I was like, "Yo, what do you mean?"
What?
They're like, "Yo, it's Tosin Abbas. It's the guy whose guitar is made for." And they're like, "No, sorry, we can't let you take the guitar." I'm like, "You gotta be." I'm like, "I'll bring him down here, make him take a stupid fucking picture with y'all, sign the fucking thing.
Yeah.
Just we need the guitar, dude." Um, and they were like, "Sorry, dude." I was like pulling up pictures. I'm like, "Look, we are the band. Like
Yeah.
this guitar would not be here without us. Like, can we get the?" And they were like, "No."
No fucks given. That's crazy. That's
So, so I ended up calling Mike Origo from Ibanez, because we were still,
Mike.
we're still homies.
Yeah, I love Mike.
And I'm like, "Yo, Mike, I need you to fucking call this store down here." And until he was like, "Yo, they need to just, if Dawson wants to take the guitar, he could just take it. We'll send him another guitar."
Uh-huh.
And I was like, "Well, look, they could give a fuck about who I am. So I need you to call." And they don't give a fuck if Tosin comes down and takes a picture with them. Can you call the store and tell them to bring it to the fucking venue, and that you'll send them another guitar? And he's like, "Yeah, no problem." So that's what ended up happening.
Wow.
Yeah, Mike called the shop and was like, "Give the guitar to the fucking man."
You're gonna lose your Ibanez dealership, bro. If you don't just like walk this guitar over to the venue right now.
And then ironically, I don't know how we ended up getting. I think one of the two salesmen that from the first store ended up bringing another Ibanez, an S series that was way better than that was playing way better than the two Schecters that they had.
Mm.
And I was like, "All right, well, I'll take the S series, and Tosin, you have your signature." We're jamming out, and Tosin's like, "Oh, this fucking thing's it's just set up all a little weird, and I can't really play on it." I was like, "All right, well, fuck it, you take the S series, I'll take." So for that show, I was playing Tosin's signature, and he was playing some random S series.
Oh, what a trip, man.
Yeah.
Well, that also speaks to, you guys being nimble enough to try to like make it happen with these other instruments, but also Tosin's preference is being just,
It's just like I just needed to play good right now. Like we weren't gonna go crazy with it, and for me, I'm like, does it make the noise when it plugs in? I'll make it sound good, like
yeah.
don't the I'm not gonna let the guitar be, unless there's fucking string missings or like
Right.
some really extreme thing. But at the end of the day, there was zero complaints from the fans. They were like, "Oh, that's some bullshit."
Yeah, right.
They didn't have enough sustain in their fucking.
So did Matt did he have to get a kit too?
Yeah, well, that's kind of always the case for international stuff, right?
Oh, right. You're
Like,
always doing
we're not
backline
flying
anyway.
with kits. We're not. He probably brought like a snare and his
Cymbals or
cymbals. I want to say the cymbals were one of the other 6 bags that actually came through.
Mm.
Dude, I remember having to go buy clothes. Like I didn't have
Damn.
shit. I was like in shorts because we were traveling from Mexico to Chile, and it was like hot as fuck in Mexico. So I was in shorts and some t-shirt, and it's like I gotta go buy some clothes for this fucking thing.
I mean, I gotta put some pants on. These guys aren't gonna, handle my legs.
They're not ready for these calves.
No, dude. But that's also like, I think it's just interesting too. Like those are like the two. I mean, you can divide players up in all these different categories, but I notice, as being the AR guy for as long as I have, that, you know, being around all you guys and doing videos with you at EMG TV and different stuff like that at Dunlop. And it's like some musicians, they walk in and like, oh, cool. Yeah, let me try. Oh, is that a new pick? Oh, right. Cool. I'll try it in the set. And you're like, whoa, that's cool. Like, they're so flexible. They don't need the thing that they always play with all the time, and they're still comfortable. And then it's the exact opposite. No, I don't like the green ones. I have to have the purple ones, you know, like, or whatever. And it's very like this way or that, you know. So it's always kind of, to me, it's always a relief. I'm so used to everybody having such strict preferences, and I'm like, I'll be the runner, man. If we need to get purple ones, dude, I'll be right back. It's gonna take me a little. I'll be right back.
Yeah.
And then I run. But then, you know, like maybe the two most interesting versions of that for me were like Eric Gales and Snarky Puppy guys. Like those, like when Eric Gales was like, oh yeah, man, oh that's a cool pedal. Oh, I put it on the board. Yeah, man, fine. Well, I'll use it for the set. And you're like, he's like, and he's like, he just dials it in. His ears he's all good. Same thing with Snarky. Like, what do you got for us just to throw in the mix? Like, we've never, you know, let's just try it a little bit differently. They're not trying to recreate the exact thing. They want each performance to have its own little thing too. So I'm like always extra impressed by musicians that step in, like, man, as long as it works, plug it in, bro, let's go. You know, like,
yeah. I mean, I wish, as far as like tone wise, I wish we had a little bit more of that flexibility, but I don't think there's room for it with the shit that we have to play, you know?
Yeah, very exact.
I remember I was doing some clinics in Colombia one time, and my Axe effects blew up because the power was so shitty.
Oh.
And I'm like calling Matt Picone from Axe Effects. I'm like, dude, where can I get an Axe Effects here in Cali, Colombia? And he was like, yo, only one person has an Axe Effects in Colombia.
Whoa.
And it was that girl, Suze. Do you know her?
Oh yeah, Vasquez.
Yeah.
Yeah.
So she ended up letting me borrow her. She brought an, I think it was an AX8.
Okay.
And she ended up bringing her fucking AX8 for me to use.
And it worked.
Yeah. The other option was to use a Line 6 like Pod HD thing. That was, I couldn't do it. Like all the thumping stuff just wasn't working with it. So she was a lifesaver. Yeah, I just happened to be in the fucking one city that she also lived in, and
lucky,
and saved my life.
That's lucky. That's cool. Sue seems like an awesome person.
Yeah, and she's like killing it too. She's doing great for herself.
That's what I've seen. I've seen her kind of take off, and she's been doing lots of big gigs, and I'm happy for her. And side note, like, shout out to Matt Picone, because he is a rock star of epic proportions.
He's a true G. I love that guy.
Yeah, it's like he does so much and still has time for people. I don't know how he does. I don't, and for his family.
Every single call, every single email.
How
he'll do walkthroughs of how to make a patch and all this other stuff, and I'm like, man, you're a saint.
Yeah, he's like Devin Townsend. Like he said, you know, reported multiple times. He's like, man, I don't know what I'd do without Matt, but like we've been on like these long ass calls for like hours and hours recreating the sounds of my albums and like different, oh no, I just need to sound like this. And you know, it's always really incredible to when you have somebody that is proficient and of service, like has a service mindset, like wants to like get it done, you know, and it's like it's refreshing. He's that guy.
Yeah. And he's just always been cool. Like I remember early on when we first started with Axe Effects, like, you know, we were still like coming from the Line 6 world, and it was just like, yo, there's a lot more knobs on this shit, dude. What the fuck? And he came over to the house because Toast and I had a band house, and he came over and gave us this whole like several hours of like, this is what you need to do. This whole page, don't even bother. It's like, if you don't know what a fucking, you know, biased excursion is, don't figure it out.
Don't touch it.
Leave it alone.
Leave it.
And all that stuff helped out, you know. But yeah, he's I mean, till this day, like, I mean, he's always been there. So
yeah, that's awesome. And so, and as far as like, are you on the Axe FX 3, or are you like, which is the XL or whatever it is these days?
I'm on the XFX 3. I still have the first gen of it.
Oh, same.
Um,
Yeah,
yeah, I still have the first gen. Um, I fucking love it.
me too.
I really do. Um, I have a Kemper. I have a Quad Cortex. I think they're all great.
Hmm.
You know, I tell people it's like, look, do you want a G-Wagon, a Porsche, or a fucking Ferrari? You know, they're
Yeah,
all really fucking sick.
yeah,
Um, Even the Pod, they're the Helix, sorry,
right.
they're all fucking great. For myself, I like the Axe Effects. I you know, I constantly try to figure out how to prove myself wrong, or like, I mean, even in the with the Animals album, we started off using Tosin's plugin, the Neuro plugin,
Hmm.
and it sounded good. And literally, we finished the entire mix, the entire album, and Tosin was like, "I'm not happy with it." We were like, and he wanted to get test mixed by somebody else.
Hmm.
We were like, "Fuck, for real." So we sent it out, and it wasn't amazing. Uh, Meanwhile, I had access to my homie studio, and it was kind of like unlimited access. So it's not like we were paying an hourly rate wage, and he's got amps and shitload of cabs in there, all sorts of mics, and I was just like, well, dude, why don't we try doing the real amps?
Hmm.
Um, and in the moment, it was like, holy shit, the real amps are way better. Like, fuck, this is way sick. And now I'm with going back with the XFX, trying to recreate some of those tones, and I've even posted some clips here and there on Instagram, like which is the real one, A or B,
Ah.
and the majority of people get it wrong.
They're
It's kind of
choosing
like
the axe effects.
that. Yeah, the people are choosing the XFX. Um, there's just it's like you just have to figure out how to like learn how to, because now I'm trying to replicate certain things. I'm doing things that I wouldn't have done off the bat.
Hmm.
Um, XFX kind of wins in my opinion, dude.
Trippy. That's
It's the
cool though.
most versatile. I mean, having a real amp is great because it gets rid of the option paralysis.
Hmm.
Um, Quad Cortex Helix, same thing. They sound great. You don't have to really deal with option paralysis. Kemper, it's as good as what you put into it.
Hmm.
But as far as like if you want that control, XFX is, in my opinion, the winner.
Well, and I'm a person that does suffer from option paralysis, and it's weird that I have the fractal and love it so much because I'm like the opposite because you guys you actually have had a lot of time building your own pages and your own scenes and all this stuff, right, to like match your sets and all this stuff. Like, but for a lay person, I love it because I turn it on and there's 300 presets of really good things, and I just like I do gravitate to like 4 or 5 different things because there's like 4 or 5 different things that I'm usually looking for, but when I'm feeling like, oh, you know what, I'm just gonna like mess around and make a track, and so I don't want to use a tone that I've used before. I'll just dial around a little bit. Whoa, that's cool. And I just kind of take it for what it is. Like I might adjust one little thing, but I don't use it for what it's really good for, other than the fact that it just has really good imaging and really great, crystal clear
Yeah.
sound.
You know
So
what? You know what? I've also am like kind of. I mean, I've known this, but I'm almost like rediscovering at the same time.
hmm,
Um, I started coming like, especially with the Axifex. I mean, I'm in an apartment. I have most of my rig here, so I can't really have a cab in here. Even a 112 is just too much for
oh, okay.
any spot, right? Um, I've learned that also there's patches or tones that are good for tracking or for like playing, but there's ones that and then there's ones that are good um for the mix.
Okay.
Because a lot of the stuff, like we got Kemper profiles for all the amp tones that we did on the album, and it sounds great. But when I hook up to the Kemper to try to play some of these riffs, it doesn't feel nearly as good as it sounds.
Mm.
And I can't play it, you know. And I'm doing the same thing with the Axe Effects. I'm recreating these tones, and you know, I'm not even playing. I'm just using the DIs from the album.
It's a reamp, right?
Yeah, and I'm reamping, and I'm like looking at and I'm matching everything. I'm looking at my cues. I'm like, I'll reamp it to hear how it sounds overall, and I'm like, that's it. That's the fucking tone. That's great. And then I go through to play through it, and I'm like, ooh, yeah, no, I don't want to play through that.
Interesting.
So I like that bit of control now, and I'm kind of like, all right, well, here's a tone to start with, and when it comes to mixing, it's fine to go ahead with option paralysis, because if you had 50 amps, you would try them all, you know.
Right.
But most people have like 2, 4,
Right.
you know, unless you're at like a big studio, and they'll have 12, 25, depending on the studio. But of what most people can use, it tends to be around the 3 or 4 number.
And when you guys are finalizing this album or an album in general, do you use a lot of layers per track? Do you reamp 3 or 4 times on the same thing and then blend those together, or you end up settling on a tone for each of you and Tosin?
On some of the parts we layered, some of the parts we didn't. Some of the we ended up doing. We used a P20 and a Octava mic on a Mesa cab for the entire album for the guitar. And then we had a Soldano, a Mesa, Tosin's Morgan clean amp, and which he's running mostly so the bulk of the distortion is actually that Morgan amp with a Friedman pedal.
The BE?
We even had a Friedman amp there, but we ended up using the Friedman pedal through the Morgan for the majority of the tones.
Wow.
So the bulk of the distorted tones, like the rhythm guitar, is either a blend of the Friedman Morgan and the Soldano, or the Soldano by itself, or the Morgan Friedman pedal by itself. Cleans, it's rare that we did any layering with, and leads also, we would bounce back and forth between the Morgan and the Soldano.
So is the Friedman pedal, is that the BEOD?
Yeah, that's the best distortion pedal.
It's so good. I have it sitting right here. Yeah. That's one of the top. I mean, there's that one, and the I still love the 5150 OD that MXR does. Like that's in a similar territory.
It's
as far
great.
As, like sound like an amp.
Awesome.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Really like those pedals. And you know, the other one, just because since we're on that, I'll show you this one. You got the BEOD, but are you familiar with Elements? The Elements?
No.
This is by Dr. Scientist.
Okay.
And this is like one of their special versions that looks kind of like a Marshall front plate, you know. But this one's really cool. It has a mix knob on it, which not a lot of ODs have mix knobs, which you can blend clean tone in, or
cool. Whatever.
I think a lot of people probably misunderstand that, but it's like because what you can do is have an amplifier that you're like, whoa, like I love this tone, I just want to push it a little bit more, but I don't want to lose the underlying character of how this amp works. So that mix knob is a helpful piece. So you can add the flavor of the pedal on top, you know, mix it in just a certain amount. And maybe for a guy like you and Tosin, you know, like those kind of like light breakup tones, but there's a lot of clean fundamental coming through, with especially the low strings. It's like you could set this up super high gain, but just mix it in a tidge. So it's like, you know, there's all these little things. You know what I'm also realizing with the low gain stuff, the pedal that's actually been really useful, and we kind of got it after the album, but so it's more of a discovery thing that I'm doing, is the grinder pedal. Who makes that?
Fortin.
Oh, Fortin Grinder.
Yeah.
Oh, cool. I haven't heard
Or
that one.
grind pedal. They call it
Okay.
grinder in the Aspects.
I was like Grinder, so it's like that app that. Oh
Yeah,
wait,
yeah.
no, never mind.
That one's really good. Um, yeah, I think the 33 is a similar thing. The Meshuggah pedal,
Yeah.
it's like a different type of saturation on it, and I think even the Whitechapel one is a similar vibe.
Did Fortin
Um,
do a Whitechapel
yeah,
pedal? Okay,
yeah.
cool.
It's a sick pedal, very sick. But yo, what they're doing is basically just a tilt. It's like a tilt EQ.
Hmm.
And I'm realizing that with 8 string, it becomes extremely useful because the low end is actually hitting the amp first, and it's kind of creating that distortion to happen first.
Hmm.
So if you can control that a bit, more of the high end is actually gets to get this, gets to hit the amp, and you get to color it a little bit more from there, as opposed to getting a lot of like this sludgy low end thing that can be good, but at the same time can get in the way.
Hmm.
So I've been using that quite a bit, and even in the Axe Effects, um, I'll put like a tilt filter in the beginning before I hit my amp and treat it as I would with like a pedal.
Can you explain the tilt thing a little more? I'm trying to understand exactly what you mean by that.
So a tilt EQ is basically, a normal EQ. You have your highs, your mids, your lows.
Mm-hmm.
Um, as opposed to saying I want more highs, more lows. A tilt EQ is just basically one control, and it shifts the whole EQ thing from this to low. So as I
Oh,
increase it, my highs go up and my lows go down, and vice versa. There is no like I can't control the middle. Depending on how it's designed, you can control. Maybe there's a small cue to it.
yeah, yeah,
Um,
yeah. Okay, that's interesting. So like you're basically getting high pass or low pass in a way, like where
yeah,
it
but
pops.
it's not a low pass. Is you're cutting off some area of the frequencies. This is literally just pushing it down a bit, and
Okay,
vice versa,
okay.
depending on which side you have it.
So it's really like if you see your multi-band EQ, it's really the tilt EQ is the shape of the way the knobs would be or the sliders would be.
Yeah,
I see.
yeah,
Interesting. I have to check that and try
yeah.
that out. I haven't especially and so when you're using for 8 string, you're noticing that like the low end tilted down like so is more
Yeah, I'll
advantageous.
get like a smoother like drive out of it, because I mean, I've also learned that most of these amp builders are fucking making tones off with a Gibson,
Mm,
in
right.
a normal 6 string guitar. They might have a 7 string, but for the most part, they got to cater to the masses, and the masses still are playing 6 string guitars.
Yeah.
Um, and for us, to me, the sound of distorted guitar that I like is still like a Marshally sort of a modified Marshall sort of thing that I heard forever ago that was on a 6 string or a 7 string.
Mm,
Um, so yeah, having that tilt EQ sort of thing is kind of just gets it a little bit more balanced. Um, and particularly like in dealing with how it sounds like in a mix. Again, when I play, I might want more low end because it feels all sick, but
hmm.
that low end can easily get in the way when it comes to mixing.
Right, because you want to feel the music when you're playing. That's like these two different patches you're talking about, the mix patch and like the
Playing
the
patch.
actual yeah, the actual playing patch. Because it's the difference between like feeling the air move on stage with the actual cabinet and like going
Sure.
hard and having that vibe versus what actually sounds good and sits in the mix correctly and you can actually hear everything spaciously.
Correct. Yeah.
Okay. That's a cool insight, man, because I hadn't even known anything
Yeah.
about that.
Mess with on your Axe Effects, mess with it if you're doing some 8 string or 7 string stuff. Like
Yeah.
just put if in the input section of your Axe Effects they have something like that,
Okay.
which is way sick, but for almost a cleaner version of it, I think, um, just put like a filter block before your amp,
Mm-hmm.
and it'll select. You can say it'll be block, notch, peak, or tilt. Those are your four
Mm.
options.
Okay.
Select tilt, and you'll see that as you increase the gain, it'll move like this.
Okay. That's super cool. I'm super gonna try that. That's rad. Man, so I'm curious, like in the last couple of years, like it's been a while. I mean, like what do you been vibing on? You always have good music suggestions about shit to listen to. Like you turned me on to what's that one group, Dirty Projectors. And I like so thankful I ended up seeing. I mean, that band has changed a lot, like they're the people, but the main dude is still there. And I mean, but like you always have good like kind of like out of left field like suggestions. What do you got for us? What are you listening to? What's cool?
It's funny. I don't know if I have as many new stuff. There's a band, Matt introduced me to this band called Strobes. I would say you might hear some parallels as far as Matt's style of playing and his style of writing from that. I really like it. There's a band out of New York that I really dig called Johnny Booth. It's like, it reminds me of like more of not old school hardcore, but like hardcore from like the 2000s era, but today's production. So it sounds all sick, and it's got that super higher pitch aggressive, like I'm pissed I was born sort of type of vocals.
I'm not supposed to be here at all.
That there's another band too called I Am Abomination, and I believe the guitar Nick Sampson is the guitarist. Nick Sampson, I think he used to produce for a lot of bands. Homie just shreds.
Really?
Yeah. I think Tim from Polyphia is on one of the songs. They got a couple other guest features, but to me, it's one of the coolest metal albums that I've heard. It's great singing. The drumming is great. The fucking guitar parts are all sick. Not a whole lot of people know about it, but
yeah, I haven't heard of them. Yeah, I haven't heard of any three of those. So thanks, man.
And then Car Bomb,
always Car Bomb.
Yeah,
always Car
Bomb. A lot of people still don't know about Car Bomb, so I always throw.
Which is weird because they are. I mean, if you're into metal at all, I mean, like you got to give Car Bomb a try.
Give them a try and go see them live, particularly on our tour that we're doing with them.
Oh, that's coming up.
Yeah.
And that's the next tour? Yeah.
So we're doing 2 shows with Alluvial. Cool. 2 shows with Incubus, 2 shows, 7 shows with Lamb of God, Killswitch, and Fit for an Autopsy. And then we do like 2.5 weeks of headliners, and that's with Alluvial and Car Bomb.
Oh, so maybe that'll be, I think you guys are coming through Chico like in November or December. That's where I'm at these days.
I don't know if Chico's that's with Incubus.
December?
That's really? Chico's close to Paso Robles.
No. This is up north. This is north of Sacramento. Chico, not Chino.
Yeah, I think that show's before the Incubus, and I think it might just be us.
Yeah.
Because Alluvial and Car Bomb meet with us after the Lamb of God.
Oh.
Because it would have been too much for them to come all the way to West Coast, wait 2 weeks or some shit, and then meet up with us again.
I see.
I think that maybe they are doing shows.
I haven't looked closely, but I just know the venue you guys are playing is like 2 blocks down the road from me.
Oh, that's sick.
I'm like, hey,
yeah.
So I'll be there. Super exciting. Yeah,
Car Bomb live is one of the coolest things I've ever seen. So
I have yet to see them live. So
it's as impressive as seeing Meshuggah. It's just like, are you fucking kidding me? Like,
another band that put out a great album this year. Like
I agree. I loved it.
Dude, it's like it's kind of in a way, I love it when a band that has a big catalog that like, it's like you almost kind of like, what are they going to do for me this time around? Because like I already have all the hits in my head, it's like they've done the fast albums, the slower albums, the in-between albums, the slightly experimental long form single albums, like you're like, what can they, And then they come out and they put an album out that like hits, for me, it hit all the things I love about Meshuggah, everything, but it still feels like a new album.
Yeah.
It's, so impressed. Lots of like kind of classic feeling Meshuggah on that album.
I mean, it's kind of, I mean, I would say the last, everything from Kolos to even this one, it's like they didn't like really branch out as far as like here's a new thing. It's more so like we got like about 5 tricks. We're just really fucking good at them, and we're just gonna keep doing them all over again. And they just know how to do it in a way where you don't feel like you're hearing the same song. We were on tour and we heard it, and it was literally like we were all in the back lounge, like fucking. It was like the new episode of Kardashians coming out, you know. Everyone was just hella stoked, and just laughing, and you know, shy of crying from tears of joy because it was just so fucking awesome. And then the song "The Faultless" comes on, and you're just like, yo, wow, fuck y'all, damn y'all.
Well, that's, and the thing that I always kind of wanted from them, even though I end up adjusting and liking every album, you know, as it comes out, like, you know, and it's always kind of one of those interesting things when you put a band on such a pedestal, like which I hate doing on one level, because then I'm just bound to like get let down in some department if you're like, oh, but like the more open I've been around it, but like the thing I wanted forever is just I wanted a little more. I wanted like a taste of modern Destroy, Erase, Improve. Like I wanted to, because the thing I love about that album in particular is kind of the interludes and like how that like it hits hard, but there's more dynamic overall over the whole album arc.
Yeah, this one's pretty relentless all the way through. Yeah,
but there's little moments. There's little. It's like maybe not full on like Destroy, Erase, Improve, but like, you know, I mean, I know what you mean. Yeah, it made me feel like, they brought back little bits and pieces and made me kind of feel similar.
Let me ask you something. Do you think, in my opinion, Meshuggah won the heavy game? Like, no matter, there's been bands who are faster than, you know, blast beats and deeper fucking screaming, slower, you know, breakdowns, but I feel like they won the heavy like title.
Oh, agreed.
What do you think is it possible to get heavier than that?
Oh, I mean,
we write heavy shit. We got some fucking riffs, right?
Yeah.
There's bands like Acacia Strain that you hear them and you're like, God damn, that's heavy, you know? Yeah. But listen to Bleed, you know, you're just like to me, it's some of the heaviest shit ever made as a musical piece.
Agreed. No, I mean, you raise a really fundamental question in the metal community. Like, it's like trying to go faster than the speed of light. Like, you think that we'll ever break the speed of light, you know, because Meshuggah is at speed of light.
Correct.
Right. So and it's that kind of question. And honestly, it's funny. When this type of thing comes up, I remember this conversation I had with Devin, because he goes, man, he's like, you know, we were talking late night one night about music or whatever. And this is before like Deconstruction came out and the whole like everybody rips off Meshuggah like lyric line, you know, and everything was out there. And he was like, you know, it's like, man, you know, Periphery, Animals, those guys all do cool stuff. Like, and he goes, and there's all these other bands that have popped up that have a bit of that sound, but they all, and it's like, not that everybody's trying to do exactly what Meshuggah is doing, but he was like, they all miss a fundamental thing, right?
We can't be that heavy.
No, like you have to be dedicated to that craft. And that's, in a way, I feel like that's the secret sauce, is that they've never strayed from the fundamental core of what they do.
Sure, but how do you do that without being Meshuggah?
You don't.
Yeah, I don't know if you can't, you know? It's got to, like, a long time has to happen. I bring this, people ask me, and I'll just do lessons or on like Twitch stuff, and people want me to check out their band, and it's like baby versions of Animals, or they're really good
Sure.
at thumping and also the stuff. I'm like, I was just like, yo, what Animals has become with thumping is kind of what Meshuggah has become with heavy, right? Like, or what
Right.
Dillinger become with that spazzy thing. Like, if you do it so much like that, no one's gonna give you the credit. And we're like, cool, you did a good job of it, but you can't rewrite Bleed, dude. Like,
Yeah.
you can't you can't write a new Rage Against the Machine album and not be and be
And not
like,
be Rage. You got to be
yeah,
Rage to do
you
it.
got to be Rage.
Yeah.
Um,
No, that's actually also the thing, right? So like that's like when it comes to influences, it's like in the beginning when Animals first came on the scene, first album or two, it's very easy to go, oh well, like I hear all this Meshuggah influence, right?
sure,
And still to this day,
they're still there.
it's still there, but the way that you guys have utilized that sound has become your own, and
Correct.
and you've added to it. You didn't rely on it as the basis for everything, right?
Yeah.
So you have fusion, you have the prog, you have fundamentally musical ideas coming through. Where Meshuggah, yeah, there are music. I mean, obviously, it's music, but it's like there's something else there that like you would have to dedicate yourself in a way that they've dedicated themselves, and then also like add to it. You have to jump off from it, like in car bomb is a good example in a way, right?
Right.
Because
100%. To me, Car Bomb is like it's like Meshuggah meets Dillinger, you know?
exactly, that's it.
That's what Car Bomb is to me, because it's the level of spazzy shit, and there's a level of spaz that is Dillinger, but they're doing shit that Dillinger would never do, and that's borrowed from the Meshuggah side. And the same thing, they're borrowing from the Meshuggah side and doing things that Meshuggah would never do. Same thing what we're doing. It's like,
Yep.
we fucking play 8-string guitar specifically because of fucking Meshuggah.
Yeah.
You know, if they didn't do it first, we wouldn't have done it. But yeah, we included the thumping, we included all the jazzy extra chords, the Latin-y stuff, songs like Brain Dance. So we're doing things that Meshuggah can't do without like redefining what they sound like.
That's
But
what makes you guys an original, right? But
yeah,
even
that's
though
what makes us original.
yeah,
But we can't be heavier.
no,
It's
no,
like, God damn it, nobody could beat. To me, they won. They won.
Yeah.
I mean, there's bands like Lorna Shore, fucking heavy.
Yeah.
What's that other band from Sweden? Voljarta.
Oh,
Heavy
dude.
as fuck.
Yeah.
But it's not that level of like, I don't know what to call it other than just like the speed of light of heavy.
Yeah. There's part of it that because the nature of how they write and this, the gents, I don't know, it's hard to like talk about such a thing, but because they Meshuggah, studied the book of thrash, like you hear that old Contradictions Collapse album,
Yeah.
and you're like, oh, like you can feel how they wanted to be Metallica.
Yeah.
Like,
They
right.
say it. They were trying to rip off Metallica.
But like even on that album, like I listened to that and I'm like, oh, they were so good. They were doing so many cool things. It's like they were studying the book of Metallica while trying to jump off at the same time, right? And like, okay, we're gonna do, and they knew they had this odd, quirky sense of thing. And then the very next release, you hear, oh wait, they're going in their own direction with
They were
this.
ahead of their time, dude.
Big time, like by a decade.
I discovered Meshuggah, I think it was 1996 or 98, some shit like that. They were opening up for Slayer at the 930 Club in DC. And I walk in and I'm like, they're all in their hockey jerseys and shit. Remember that?
Yeah.
I'm like, what is happening? Why can't what's going on with this music? And meanwhile, Slayer was like fucking, it was a Diabolos and Musica.
Yeah.
Massive album for them, like bands like Korn were fucking out, and it was like the biggest shit. Meanwhile, Meshuggah comes through and just that changed how I listened to music. I remember going. I could probably remember the riff that I went home and tried to write after that.
Mm,
Um, I was just like, all right, just cut out a 16th note, cut out a fucking eighth note, like, and see what happens.
right.
I didn't know what was happening though. Like,
And that's I think because they mastered thrash and space at this, like in the whole the same effort to be who they were, like that's part of why it, like, you almost can't, there's just not, the book has already been written,
yeah,
and I do same era as when I, like, it was probably 93. I think it was 93 was when I first heard Destroy Erase and Proof. We had a Swedish exchange student in high school. His name was Klaus, and he was like, we were all Pantera heads. We're like just smoking weed and Pantera. And he's like, hey, I got this tape and I think you guys will really like it. And it was Destroy, Erase, Improve. And we were like, all right, man. And we were driving around my car, like I'm 16, like I'll take Pantera out to listen to your Swedish band, Klaus. And we start listening to it, and it didn't, it's like, it's how they describe, like how settler, how like Native Americans might have, experienced seeing like the ships of the Spanish come over, like it's like they've never seen anything like it before, and they're just like, what? I don't even know what I'm looking at.
yeah.
Right? It felt like me and my buddy, we were looking at each other like, this isn't actually even making any sense. And I just I took the tape out. I was like, bro, sorry, you're getting vetoed. and he left the car. He left the tape in my car. He's like, you should listen to it again later though. And I'm like, okay, man, I'll listen to it later. Back to Pantera. Like a week later, 2 weeks later, I was like tired of listening to fucking Vulgar Display of Power for the billionth time or something. And I'm like, you know what? I'm smoking a joint. Let's like check out that Swedish band again. And I just was the right moment. And I was like, oh, this is heavier than
all of it.
Yeah. Like I've never heard anything like this.
Yeah,
And
yeah.
I remember going and telling Klaus, I'm like, dude, I'm so sorry. Like that was, I take it all back. And ever since I was like, okay, just trying to wrap my brain around like what I've been experiencing.
You know what's funny? That was all. I think Meshuggah was also the first time I'd ever seen a band use a double pedal.
Oh, whoa.
Because he was using a single kick, and double pedals weren't a fucking thing back then.
Mm-hmm,
Everybody had two kick drums.
That's true. That's true.
And I remember being like, I'm hearing double kick. What the fuck is going on? Like, how is this fool doing this? I was so confused with everything that I was seeing. I was like, and why are they wearing fucking hockey jerseys? Is this Ugly Kid Joe or something? Like, what is this?
So funny.
I couldn't comprehend it.
Dude, and I saw them open for Slayer on that same tour, but it was an SF at the Warfield, and because we had probably known about him for about a year and a half or something prior to that because of our buddy. And I grabbed my buddy Ryan. We jumped in the car, went to San Francisco, and we were, Slayer. We're like, like I wasn't a Slayer fan, but some of the stuff was cool. But I was there for Meshuggah. It was Meshuggah, Sick of It All, and then Slayer. And I wasn't a fan of Sick of It All either, really. And it was such a funny night because when Meshuggah went on, there was me, my buddy, and like 4 other people down up front going nuts. Like 6 people, and we're like, what the fuck is wrong with this crowd? They don't hear
they were ahead of their time.
Yeah, and it was the same type of effect. They probably didn't even know what was happening in front of them, right? Because they didn't hear it before, and it was just like pure universal like luck in a way, right? Like made to happen. Sick of It All comes on after Meshuggah played like 6 songs that Tomas threw out his stick, and like we got it, and we're like, dude, oh man, this is the coolest night ever. And Sick of It All comes on, and everybody kind of floods down to the front, and there's a dude like in the front wearing a Sepultura shirt, and the guy in Sick of It All for whatever reason doesn't like Sepultura, and it starts a fight, like talking to this fan, like, what, that fucking shirt's stupid, and the crowd. I was like, this is dumb. I'm out of here. I went out the venue, and that venue is like you just walk around the corner and like the back door is right there. And I didn't know that. I'd never been there before, but I looked down I walk around the corner. I'm like, oh shit, Meshuggah's loading out. And I'm like, I walk right up. Jens and and Frederick and everybody like just chilling there, kind of guarding their gear, waiting to put their stuff. And I'm like, yo, so is it true you guys are like on welfare in Sweden, man? Like you guys don't get paid enough because you have the best band. And they're like, well, I mean, yeah, we get some government assistance. It's difficult to be a band, you know, and this, you know, I'm like 16, 17 trying to figure it all out. And what was also a trip because I look over, actually I take it back. I was probably 17 going on 18. But as I'm trying to like fanboy hard on Meshuggah, the band of Testament, the current line of Testament walks up, and it's like Chuck Billy, Eric Peterson, and at the time was James Murphy, who was in Death back in the day. And that was like one of my like favorite players at the time. And I was just like, bro, I'm talking to Meshuggah, and James, I'm like, James, like, what's up? And he was so nice to stop. He's like, hey man, you cool? Like I got to go in. And he came back out and chatted with me for a minute. But like as a young person having that moment, and then it's just like, dude, I don't even know what my life is like ever going to be. You know, I just like, I'm looking up to these people that they seem like magicians to me, you know? And
speaking of Testament, that lineup, that was when Demonic came out. That was like around that same era.
Yeah. In between Low, Demonic, and like The Gathering, that era. Actually, you're right. Yeah. I think Demonic was the album though.
Yeah, because
but James Murphy wasn't on that particular album.
He wasn't on the album?
Or maybe he was on the album, but he wasn't on the tour.
Sure he was on the album. He toured. Because I saw them on that tour. And I also remember, like, I felt like Testament broke up and Chuck Billy was just singing. He wasn't doing any screaming. And then Demonic Refusal came out, and it was just like, all of a sudden he was like, bro.
Oh, well, I was like, Low was the first album for that though. It was The Ritual was the last one where he was singing. And it was like, and then when Low came out, they had Tempesta on drums, and Murphy was the replacement for Alex Skolnick, and that's what tripped me out, because I was like, who is this? Who can fucking slay Alex Skolnick? And like this guy came in and had all these cool other leads, and they went heavy with the vocals.
You're right, because then they lost Tempesta and they got Hoagland. Fucking Gene Hoagland.
Hoagland was on.
Yeah,
that's
dude.
right.
I remember I went nuts about that.
And I think Murphy either might have recorded something, but this was the time in the era around his brain tumor, and he was living in Oakland, and he had a brain tumor. Like they came to get him. He told me on the pod, he was like, I was so out of it. He's like, this brain tumor was like pressing on his brain in weird places, and he had no sense of time and space for a while. And like they rolled up with the tour bus because he didn't show up to go on tour. And they rolled up to his apartment like, bro, what are you doing? He's like, what? And they're like, yo, you get on the bus. It's time to, like, this was like for The Gathering, I think. Sure. And then they kind of discovered, you know, something was wrong. He went to the doctor, and he's been kind of dealing with that ever since. But dude, yeah, that was a big shift for Testament in a lot of ways.
But I just remember that, like, so many of the bands from that era, just one, they died out. You know, like from that existed in the 80s, somewhat survived the early 90s, right? Sepultura was one of the few ones, because they changed real fast they like embraced nu metal immediately and kind of changed. Everybody else didn't, and faded away. And Testament came back with that, with Low and Demonic, and I was like, yes, everything. I loved those albums.
Super good albums. You know, was badasses that around the time that I guess, well, I don't know what the air, around 2008 or something, it was like that. So Skolnick was gone for like Low, Demonic, The Gathering, and then maybe there was another live album, and maybe something else. And then by around 2008, Skolnick was like coming back, and they put out The Formation of Damnation. And I was like talking to James Murphy. I'm like, yo, dude, I don't know what they're going to put out, but like, I still love Low. Like, Low is my favorite record. And he's like, oh, that's great, man. But I have heard the new album. And he's like, and Formation of Damnation is the best Testament album of all time. And you're going to fucking love it.
I haven't heard it. I got to go hear it.
So, and out of all the catalog, they put out 3 or 4 albums since Formation, and there's good tracks and they're decent albums, but not like Murphy is right in that, like on Formation of Damnation, Skolnick plays his ass off. It's like he had really something to prove. It was his first metal album back, sits doing all that jazz and stuff. And I was glad, because then I went and saw them on that tour, and I was like, oh God, like you see Alex Skolnick play live, and you're reminded, like, this is a G. Like he doesn't miss.
I've seen him play a lot this year, actually, a lot.
Really?
Because he plays a lot with Stu Ham.
Oh, the jazz group or what?
Yeah, it was the Stu Ham group.
Oh, okay.
And I'm homies with Stu.
Stu's great.
Yeah, like we talk pretty often, and he plays here at the Baked Potato here in LA a lot. And I want to say Skolnick has played with him like 4 or 5 times already.
That makes sense.
Yeah. And yeah, I mean, Skolnick is a G.
Yeah, I think his jazz stuff and his kind of like non-metal stuff is cool. But and I was like, at first I was like, I almost liked it like more in some ways, but then when he came back, it was akin to, like, I'd seen Dimebag play like 6 times, right, live, and and I was always enamored with, like, he's loose and fucking, man, hitting all the fucking notes and had swagger, around like his stage presence. And Skolnick didn't have the same thing, but he had his own thing with the metal, and I was like, oh man, this guy.
It's funny, from the bands of that era, Dimebag to me always had like a certain thing. Testament always had a certain thing. And a band that I think most people have forgotten now, that the guitar players always had a certain thing, is Queensryche.
Oh, Wilton?
Yeah.
Yeah, he's good.
They always just had like their choice in phrasing was always super unique to me. Like it wasn't typical riffs.
Bro, yeah, the amazing band, amazing couple albums, but you know why? I mean, that band is like falling apart into 2 different.
I know why, but as far as the fan side of it, or people being like, yo, the give respect where it's supposed to be given, to me, I'm like, damn, they did some cool shit. Like even going back and listening to shit from like Operation Mindcrime or fucking,
that's the best shit, I think. Or
Empire. I mean, Empire from beginning to end is a fucking sick ass album.
That's true.
But yo, I gotta bounce soon.
No, it's good, man. I got to split too. I got things to do. Hey, perfect. You got an alarm and everything.
No, that's a call.
It's good timing though, man. I appreciate you chopping up with me and catching up and hearing about all the stuff. And it's always good to see somebody I care about doing well, and I'm celebrating the album on a regular basis. So I'll be at your gig when you come through.
Sounds good. I'll see you there.
All right, man. Have a great day, Hobbs.
You too, bud. Peace.
Later.
Players Pick Podcast, Picks and Perspective with Chrys Johnson. Pool table.
Players Pick Podcast is brought to you in part by our good friends at Dunlop Guitar Products, Kiesel Custom Guitars, and our favorite new coffee company, Road Roaster Coffee. Use coupon code PLAYERSPICK for 20% off your first order at roadroastercoffee.com.